Hello everyone, and welcome back to Cooking with Suzanne. This morning I am preparing a French meat pie called Tourtiere, which my mom always made for us every Christmas Eve. So I have all of my mise en place ready, and I'd like to go over it with you in case you would like to make one in your home. So this recipe actually makes 3 meat pies, which, by the way, they freeze beautifully. And I have even doubled that. So I'm going to give you the amounts for 3 meat pies. You will need 1 clove of garlic, finely minced, 1 cup of finely diced carrot, 1 cup of finely diced onion, 1/2 cup of finely diced celery, 1 leek, and I just wanted to show you here, to clean a leek you dice it, put it in a bowl of cold water. All of the dirt will go to the bottom, and then you just use a spider to scoop out the leeks. You will also need 2 bay leaves and 4 allspice berries, whole allspice berries. I also add some fresh herbs to my tourtiere, which is fresh rosemary, fresh sage, and fresh thyme. Now you can use all 3 herbs or just one of the 3, but you will need a total of 1 tablespoon of freshly chopped herbs. So a teaspoon of each or 1 tablespoon of one kind. So I have all 3 here, and a teaspoon of each. You will also need 1/2 cup of brandy, 2 cups of chicken stock, and additional spring water to cover the meat. Now for the meat, for 3 meat pies, you will need 1 pound of ground beef to 2 pounds of ground pork. As I said, all of this is doubled here in front of you. So I'm giving you the exact measurements that you will need for 3 meat pies. The other thing that is really important is that you use a very thin, inexpensive aluminum pie plate. Now I have found them at a store called the Dollar Tree, and they're actually $1 a piece. And also you can get them in a restaurant supply store, which is what you're looking at here. And I purchased these for about $2.50. Growing up, when my mom made several meat pies at a time, back in the day, Table Talk used to actually sell their pies in aluminum pie plates. And those aluminum pie plates is what my mom used to use to make her meat pies. So you do want a very thin metal pan because you do not par bake the crust. The dough is raw, you add your meat filling, and then you cover it with another layer of dough. And in order for that bottom crust to be nice and crisp and golden brown, you need a very thin pan. Okay, here are all of our ingredients, and once you have this all together, you are ready to make the filling. See you soon. Welcome back, everyone. So we started our very first step in making our wonderful French meat pie, tourtiere. What I have here is a nice large pot, and I'm starting to sweat all of our mirepoix. I have the celery, carrots, onion, and leek. And I did add about a teaspoon of salt. That actually helps release the water from the vegetables, which you do want to do. So I have this on fairly low. And the next step is to add our garlic. You don't want to add it too soon. So here are our beautiful vegetables. They've been going for about, I would say, around 5 to 6 minutes. So now you can take your beautiful chopped garlic and add it to the pot. And that was for the 3 pounds of meat would be 1 large clove of garlic. So now let's mix that in and let that cook for another minute or so. The next step you want to do is actually deglaze the vegetables with our brandy. 1/2 cup of brandy. In my case, I'm going to be using a cup because I have doubled the recipe. So let me just grab the brandy. I'm going to turn this on high now. Want to make sure my vegetables are nice and soft. And let me just grab my brandy and have it ready. Also, while we're at the stove, let me share with you what I do with the bay leaf and the allspice berries. I actually put it in a little piece of cheesecloth and tie it so that it's easy to take out of the meat pie filling when it's done. Otherwise, you have to go digging for those little allspice berries, and it's a little tricky. You can do it, but it is a little bit tricky. While the vegetables continue to sweat, let me just show you that I have 4 large potatoes, but for a single recipe you only need 2. These are red bliss. You can also use Yukon Gold potatoes or just white boiling potatoes. I have them sitting in cold water with a little bit of kosher salt. After my meat goes into my pot and it starts slowly simmering for a while, I will start to cook the potatoes. Once the potatoes are fully cooked, you're going to peel them, put them on a plate, and just use a fork to just roughly mash it so that it's in just pieces. You don't want a puree. You just want it broken up slightly and added to your wonderful meat filling. So let's go back over here, and I believe this should be nice and ready. This looks good. Okay, let's add our brandy. Here is, you need for one recipe, 1/2 cup of brandy. Here I'm putting in 1 cup. And I have my heat on fairly high, and you want to reduce it until until your pot is actually completely dry and the brandy is absorbed into all of your beautiful vegetables. It doesn't take very long. Okay, so I'm going to hold on to my camera and try to get all the meat in. Starting off with the pork, as I said, it's 2 pounds of ground pork to 1 pound of ground beef, which will give you 3 pies. And it's worth making 3 because it freezes so well. After your pie has cooked, fully cooked, and cooled completely, you can saran it, wrap foil around it, and put it in your freezer, and you can reheat it straight from your freezer. So it's worth to make more than one. So I'm going to set that down and just use my masher now. Hopefully you can see that. You want to just kind of get this mashed in and mixed really well. Okay, our meat is well mixed. I have my flame on low, but I'm going to raise it now. You're not looking to brown the meat at all. All you're looking to do at this point is just mix it. Now we can go ahead and add all of our fresh herbs. So a teaspoon of each. We can put in our bay leaves and allspice berries. And let's start with our chicken stock. So for 3 pounds would be 2 cups. That's just to give a boost into the flavor of the meat. And what you want is enough liquid to cover the meat well. You want this nice and moist. And now we can put this on high because you want to bring it to a boil before you simmer it. So now I'm adding water. So let's stir that in and see where we're at. You want to mix this pretty well. You want to make sure your meat is well covered with the liquid. Once it comes to a boil, you're going to lower it and you're going to let it simmer for about an hour and a half. Then you need to let your meat mixture cool before you add it to your pie crust. Okay, I think we can use a little more water. Okay, I think this is covering the meat very nicely. Yeah, that looks very good. Okay, we're going to let this come to a boil, and then I will lower it and let it simmer uncovered for about an hour and a half. So let's just recap everything that's in this pot right now. 1 cup of onion, 1 cup of carrot, 1/2 cup of celery, 1 clove of garlic, 1 leek. Everything is very finely diced. You want to sweat your vegetables, and then to it you're going to add 2 pounds of ground pork, 1 pound of ground beef. But before you do that, you want to deglaze after you sweat your vegetables with 1/2 cup of brandy. Add your meat and your fresh herbs. 1 tablespoon total of fresh herbs. 2 cups of chicken stock. Finish with water. And we can add some salt now. I did add about a teaspoon of salt to the vegetables to sweat them. Okay. I think we will start with a tablespoon of salt. And give that a little stir. It's starting to boil. Once it boils, you definitely want to lower it and let this simmer nice and slowly. So while our meat filling is simmering for an hour and a half, I did go ahead and put the potatoes on. So I'm going to cook these once they come to a boil. You definitely want to lower this and let this just softly boil, just so the potatoes don't fall apart on you. And then you're going to peel them, and as I said, put them on a plate and just use a fork just to roughly mash them up. So in the meantime, let's just talk a little bit about pie crust. Growing up, my mother always used Crisco vegetable shortening for her pie crust. It does make a very flaky pie crust, less expensive, and it's also 50% less in saturated fat than butter. Now, that doesn't mean you can't make an all butter pie crust for your meat pie. If you want to, by all means, go ahead. So just use your favorite pie crust and get your dough ready, and line all of your pie shells with the dough, and have your other dough ready to roll out for the top. And you can see that it's slowly cooking, very slowly. Keep it on low. You should just have little bubbles around your pot, and let this go for about an hour and a half. Okay, so our meat filling is done. It took an hour and a half, and I removed the bouquet garni, which had the bay leaves and the allspice berries. I removed that, and now I want to add the potatoes. My potatoes were fully cooked. I let them cool a little bit. Let me just show you. I let them cool a little bit, and then I took the skin off, which was very easy to take off with a paring knife. And I just used a fork just to give it a rough mash. And this potato is going to go into our filling. Okay, I added the potatoes, and you can see it's just nice small pieces of potato, but it's not pureed. And now you just want to let this cool before you go ahead and start filling your pie plates. Okay, we've reached our final step, which is to fill our pastry shell, which I have right here. And my filling is completely cool to room temperature. So now I'm just going to take a ladle and just spoon the filling into the unbaked crust. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think we have enough filling here. And then you can actually take a pastry brush. I have an egg wash here, and you're just going to go around the rim to seal the top crust. And I already have this rolled out and ready to go. Okay. There we go. And then in the center, you're definitely going to want to allow the steam to come through. So you can just make a few little slits with a paring knife so that the steam can come through. And then we're going to go around, seal this. You bake this at 425 degrees for 15 minutes. Lower your temperature to 375 and continue to cook it until it's fully cooked. I just wanted to show you what the pie looked like before it goes into the oven. It's all set. I did glaze the top with a little bit of egg wash. You don't necessarily have to do that. I just like finishing it off that way, but it's not necessary. And I just took the first one out of the oven so that you could see what it looks like. Here is our first tourtiere ready to go. And you can probably fit 2 at a time in a standard oven, maybe even more. Okay, so there is our beautiful meat pie. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was helpful, and I hope that you will try it.